Welcome back to another episode of Harmonious at Lunch, the show that fuels your business success. I'm Brandon Gano, your host and guide through the world of harmonious business growth. Today, we're unlocking powerful strategies with industry experts to help your business thrive. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or executive, you are in the right place. Join me and our incredible guests today on the journey to clarity, growth, and success. It is time to revolutionize your approach to business. Let's dive in with another episode of Harmonious at Lunch. Welcome back into some more bite-sized business advice. In today's episode, we got a new topic and one that I'm very, very excited to cover. I think this is going to blow your mind a little bit as a business owner. At least I'm that excited to dive in. But I have a very special guest here. We're talking about writing short books to boost your sales and leads. Mike Capuzzi, welcome to the show and thank you for being here.
Brandon, thank you for the opportunity.
So short books to get sales and leads. I think we can all kind of picture what that looks like, but let's dispel some myths here because I know there's a huge market of people who push quick little ebooks that are Chat GPT written and use those as lead magnets. I don't think we're talking about that, but can you shine some light on that for me?
Yeah, it's amazing. We've been doing this long enough now that actually has to become a part of the conversation. But no, these are real books, traditionally printed books, paperback primarily. We do use digital versions, but they are, the key things, Brandon, are they're designed to be read by the average reader in about an hour. So they're not a short little ebook. They're not a pamphlet. They're not a brochure. They're also not an encyclopedia. They're that 1 hour read, roughly 12 to 15,000 words, which is a lot less than a typical business book, but they're real books. They're short and they're helpful. I'm not saying that AI couldn't be a tool that could be used, but so far, all of our authors, our clients, myself included, we're writing our own content. So, but yeah, real books, just design and the format is very unique to the kind of, goal that we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, I mean, listen, AI has its place. Let's acknowledge that. But I think if you're gonna put content out there and put your name on it, I mean, it should be your content. So I'll leave that where it is. I also just realized does your hat say bite-sized books?
Bite-sized book. That's the name of the company, the publishing company.
I love this. And I start every episode with bite-sized business advice. So it's a match made in heaven. I love it. Sorry.
There you go.
Squirrel moment. But let's dive into this. You have these short books. I can understand from a conceptual perspective how this would help. You get to say you're an author. You could use it as a lead magnet. It's a business card. Why do you advocate for this style of book in terms of getting more leads and sales?
Well, it goes back to the fact that even in today's day and age where, listen, I acknowledge attention is a lot shorter than it used to be. People want information quickly. But when somebody is interested in a topic, so for example, for the first time in my life, I am now suffering from tennis elbow. Never had it in my entire life. I was doing some yard work 2 months ago now. Brandon, you can imagine, I've watched every YouTube video. I've gone on Amazon for books because I'm experiencing something that's bothering me and I'm trying to find a solution, which doesn't really seem that there is one out there except time. But regardless, when somebody's interested in something, whether it's solving a problem, right? So for example, this is a short, helpful book, a shook, that a lawyer wrote about for folks that are dealing with dementia, right? Either a caregiver or a loved one. When you're in that mode, you're looking for good quality information and you don't care if it's something that you can read in 5 minutes, right? You want everything that you can get on that topic. So whether it's trying to solve a problem or achieve a goal, most people, even in this day and age, are looking, for information, quality information. And a short book allows them to digest it at their leisure. But again, with the goal that we've created for our readers, for our authors, and then the flow of the shook itself, it's really leading that person from information to interaction with the author.
I like that. So let's take a hypothetical situation. I approach you. I want to write a shook, and I have no idea where to start. Where do you start with people to help them understand, what their book should be about, how to go about writing and planning and outlining? I mean, it seems like a big process. Where do you begin with people?
Well, I've been doing this a long time. So I've been in the marketing game for 30 years, almost 30 years. I've got a good reputation for being able to take complex things, make them simple. I also originally came from the engineering world, so I've got an engineer brain. And we've really refined a very simple process. Every one of our clients works directly with me. We do what you and I are doing right now. We brainstorm. I understand their goals. I understand what their readers are, their potential readers are trying to achieve. And we work together to develop, a book that is going to be very attractive for that target audience, right? It's not written for everybody. It's written for a specific reader, and getting that reader to, absorb quality information. But then this is a big important step, Brandon, because most books don't do this, which is then connect that reader who is interested, right? That percentage of readers who wants more from the author, to connect them with the author. And with the idea of engaging them either as a client or a customer or whatever it might be. So that's a key difference. But yeah, we figure it out. We've worked with over 250 authors, and yeah, it's worked out well.
I like that. How many, outside of your clients, how many books have you personally published?
I think I'm up to 20.
20. That's it? You slacker. I'm kidding. That's
Well,
impressive.
but it sounds more impressive than it probably is, because again, they're short books. I'm not writing War and Peace, or I'm not writing a New York Times bestseller. That's probably still on my bucket list, but it's not something it's not, just hasn't been the immediate goal. What's interesting, Brandon, though, is I used to speak a lot at events. Now I serve clients that speak a lot at events and keynotes and stuff like that. We will literally create a shook for that event's audience, to be given away at the event, to be used as a bonus, whatever it might be. So, out of that 20, some of those are very, you will never find them on Amazon. You'll never find them even behind me, because they were so uniquely designed for a very specific reason. But yeah, I think we're up to 20. I'm up to 20.
Listen, you don't have to justify it. It's 20 more than I've written. So it's an impressive feat.
As of today.
Okay, fair enough. It'll take me 6 years to put 12,000 words in a row on paper. So 7 years from now,
as a podcast host, you have sort of done for you media already, right? The best of Harmonious at Lunch, right? Don't laugh. There's a lot of people that are doing that.
I'm not. There is a book in the works, as a matter of fact. I love to, let's tease the end of this episode. I love to ask the guests to provide a powerful question so that the audience has actionable tips to take away from the episode. I think we're over 100 episodes of questions. So there is definitely the potential for a book from all the wisdom from our guests. It's none of mine, but all of our guests. So,
and again, so get this real quick. I've been doing a podcast as a host for over 5 years now. I just recently pivoted, but for 5 years, I was running the Author Factor podcast, where I would interview authors of nonfiction books. And I always asked every one of them the same question at the end, which was designed to give me a little tidbit of information. Now, I haven't published this book yet, but we have over 200 of these little sound bites of what it means, what has it meant to that individual to be a published book author. And my goal was, just like my thought was, to create a book of inspiration for people who want to write a book.
I love it.
So it's a good idea.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's good validation there. So I want to move to the after writing side of things. And I understand things happen simultaneously. But anyway, in sequential order, the promotion of the book, the selling of the book, maybe not even selling, but using it for lead gen, for sales. I understand completely where, maybe there are books that you print 250 copies for an event. That's it. They never see the light of day outside of that. I'm talking about more, or let's talk about more of the mainstream. If I want to use this to get leads, I want to put it on Amazon. I want to use it as a business card. A common thing that I hear from people in this regard is, I know 4 people and a cow. I mean, how am I going to get this message out to the world, and who's going to even buy or see this book? So how do you approach that conversation?
All right, so let's take one step back. We deal with 2 types of authors. We deal with maybe 2/3 of our authors are local business owners, the local dentist, the local chiropractor, the local insurance agent, whatever it might be. And those individuals, Brandon, all they want to be is what I call 5 mile famous. They only want to be known in that community or whatever community they serve, however big it is, as the lawyer, the doctor, the chiropractor that does a specific thing, and they write a shook about that. So for them, they're already in business. They already have customers or clients or whatever. It's a matter of promoting the book to their existing customers, giving them away at events. Maybe a local trade, local high school event, whatever it might be. One of the most interesting, matter of fact, the author who unfortunately has passed away. This was a gentleman in Grand Rapids, Michigan. He was a dentist, and when we published his shook 5 or 6 years ago, he's a holistic natural dentist. So he doesn't use mercury, he doesn't use fluoride. He would put copies of this, Brandon, in yoga studios, health food stores to give away, like with a little sign, take a book if you want it. And then within the first 30 days of him doing that very simple strategy of what I call OPC, other people's customers, getting your book in front of other people's customers, he got 3 new patients, right? So that's one strategy. The other strategy is for people more like you and myself who have more of what I call a global audience. Those are the authors that are typically on Amazon, online sales. The local guy, gal doesn't really care if he or she is on Amazon necessarily. But for the global author, then yeah, Amazon's the big one. And there it's just promotion. I mean, it's Amazon ads can be very effective, it can be very costly, but it can be very effective. It's really marketing 101, Brandon. I wish I could tell you to just push this button or take this pill and that's all you need to do. It's consistent, persistent promotion. Online, social media, everywhere you are. I'm traveling next week. I'll be on a plane. I'll have copies of one of my shooks with me just in case I bump into somebody. So it's just really trying to leverage as many things as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense. And as much as I would love that same magic pill, it's doing things like this, right? Like getting your face out there.
Podcast guesting. Yep.
Right. So how are some of your clients? Let's talk about the 1/3 of clients who are not trying to be 5 mile famous, because that's the majority of our audience serves clients all over the country, the world, even their state is outside of the 5 mile famous range. So if you want to go that route, what are some of your client success stories or experiences that people have had after writing a shook to help them get their brand and their message out there?
It's a great question. So again, I'm not going to say it's easy, but we've had several clients, myself included. So many authors, when they publish a book on Amazon, let's just use Amazon as the example, they upload it and they sort of, if it's there, someone will read it kind of mentality, which is the furthest thing from the truth. A well thought out book launch or a shook launch is really critical to get the Amazon algorithm working and getting, that initial momentum, which is important. And the best solution there, Brandon, if you have your own, if you have 100,000 of your own followers, then it's sort of a no-brainer. You'll be fine. But if, most folks don't have that. I just was dealing with 2 different doctors. One was a PhD, one's a medical doctor. They just happened to be married, and they each wrote 2 different shooks for 2 different businesses. They have 2 very successful businesses. And, what they did was they tapped into their own network. Friends, people of influence that they're friendly with. They're both part of coaching groups. So they're in a network of smart, successful people. And when each of their book launches happened, they had, we always try to shoot for 25 to 50, what we call launch partners, just to promote it during the launch week. And actually, I think the wife sold Ashley sold in the first week 3,000 copies. She had so much momentum. Now, it was a book on weight loss, so it was kind of everyone's interested in that. But tapping into it goes back to other people's customers, other people's networks. That is a very effective strategy. It means you have to have relationships with those people. If that's not a possibility, Amazon ads is a pay-to-play strategy, which can work very well. And I'll caveat that it can be very effective, but there's some pitfalls there too.
Yeah, I mean, paying for ads is definitely a strategy in general. I personally like the relationships model where you can go talk to people you already know and they can help support you.
Yeah.
But that brings up an interesting question of what did you say your name? Ashley?
Actually,
Ashley. Okay. So, Ashley's probably been nurturing these relationships for years, if not decades, in some cases. If someone, let's say, again, I come to you today and I want to write a book, how long is the timeline to actually write it? And then how long before the launch should I be building and nurturing those relationships that will help me with that launch?
yeah. Well, listen, that question, the latter part of the question goes beyond the book, right? Because if
Right.
you don't have a network or you don't have a following for a book, then chances are you don't have a following for your business or whatever it is. I get that. I'm not knocking. I'm just saying the book is just an example of media. It goes beyond the book. To that question, it's, you know, my youngest daughter is dating a young guy, and he's got his own business. And they've been dating for years now, and he came to me a couple years ago, knowing my background, and he asked me, like, he was still in school at the time, and he's like, "Listen, I'm starting my own business. What are your recommendations?" And my first recommendation was, "You." And he's in fabrication, so he's using his hands to make stuff, right? Like, you still have to build a following. You have to have a following. You have to have people that are interested in what you're doing, what you're saying, whatever it might be. So that goes without saying. It just has to happen. You have to be thought as, in some level, a thought leader, whatever that might mean for you and your business. But that is work that you need to do immediately. It's beyond any marketing media. For the shook itself, it takes our average client 8 to 12 weeks to get it done working through our process. For a launch, we like to tack on I'd like to say another 2 to 3 months if you're really doing it. I mean, it can be done much quicker. Matter of fact, Ashley, as an example, she did it in like less than a month. But again, she had a good network, so she didn't have to do all this homework and groundwork. But yeah, you're looking at probably at minimum a 3 to 4 month window to make a big splash.
I think that's completely reasonable. But the reason I ask too is because we as human beings, I think we fall under this delusion, not illusion, that if you build it, they will come, right? The field of dreams. And I know for a fact that's not true about anything, almost anything, and especially not about a book. So that's just kind of where I like to get people's heads. And I'm sure you do too when you first talk to them. Like there are other things that you have to do to make this successful. It's not that silver bullet that's just going to magically get you more
Yeah,
leads.
it's great insight for sure. And yeah, if you're getting to the point where you're like, oh, I got to try this shiny object because things. Now, there's some fundamental foundational things that need to be fixed first.
Yeah, I love that. This is not the show for shiny objects. Yes, I did have a squirrel moment before, but we do not push shiny objects. Totally different. So, Mike, I teased this before. Now I want to pop the question to you, so to speak. Look, we're getting engaged. Imagine that. But the powerful question. I personally believe that powerful questions get powerful answers, and that's what helps people take action on what they listen to, what they read, whatever it may be. What do you want the listeners to ask themselves if they think this is a good fit for them? If they want to write a shook, if they want to go down this path, if it's not just the shiny object, what do you want them to ask themselves so they can take appropriate action after listening to this?
Yeah, great question. I would probably say, Brandon, this is not like an earthquake question, but like, what is stopping you from accomplishing it? Most people, not everybody, a lot of people, yourself included, it sounds like, want to be a published book author. It's just something they have. They like to read. They like what it means. They like to have something they can hold and give to people, etc. So it's a bucket list for a lot of folks. Then the question becomes, what's stopping you from doing it? And I will say, Brandon, because we hear it a lot. A lot of people think, okay, who am I to write a book? I'm not smart enough to write a book. I'm not a good enough writer. And I try to, alleviate those fears. We are not writing the next War and Peace. We are not writing the next book that's going to last thousands of years. And be remembered 1,000 years from now. This is it's a tool to help people and to help your business. And a lot of it just is about writing and conversing in a very me to you fashion. So I would just ask them, what's stopping you?
I love that. That question you may see in a book near you one day when I do publish that book. No, but in all seriousness, I mean, I found the loophole to that question because I've had those same thoughts. Like I don't have, who am I to write a book? Well, I just asked 300 other people a powerful question and then they gave me an answer. And I can now convey that in one succinct place to other people. And guess what? It's a tool for me more than anything else. Because how cool would that be to have insights from that many people in one place?
And I know we're probably running short, but can I give a real quick thing? I just had somebody, a good friend of mine he was a follower of mine for years. He was a member of one of my groups years ago. He's now a senior citizen, but he just reached out to me last week. I hadn't heard from him in a while. And he just reached out to me and said, "Hey, Mike, you probably don't remember this, but years ago you told me I should." He was a very good writer. Now he wrote a book, not a shook, but he wrote a book. But regardless, he was very skilled at just writing in a way that people were engaged with him. He's like, "You probably don't remember this, but years ago you encouraged me to write, even though I didn't know who I was writing for. And you told me his name's Phil." He said, "Phil, you don't know who you might impact with your writing. You may never know it, but someone's going to be impacted. Someone's life's going to be changed." And Brandon, I'm telling you right now, that book that you're thinking about, that you're working on, it will change someone's trajectory, their thought process. You may never know it because most of us as authors don't know that. But it's one of the just amazing benefits of creating a quality book that is designed with your goal of helping people, right? So the impact is way beyond anything you can imagine. And even though you may never hear about it, even though your Amazon reviews may not be that high, it is out there impacting people.
I love that perspective. That's such a gold nugget from the episode too. Mike, I can't thank you enough for being here. I said I was excited for this episode in the beginning, and you completely over-delivered, which I love. If the listeners do want to take that next step, they want to learn a little bit more about writing a shook for themselves or their businesses, where can they go?
Yeah, well, with your permission, I have 3 shooks I'd like to give your listeners. It's and I'm going to show it on the video, but if they're listening, the Magic of Gratitude, which you should check out. I'll have to make sure I send you a direct link. It'll give you some ideas. The Magic of Working Together and the Magic of Short Books. Oh, apologize for that. I have my phone off, but that's an emergency contact. And it's my magic kit. You get it at mikecapuzzi.com/magic.
I love it. That link is on the screen if you're watching. It's also down in the show notes and description below, wherever you're watching or listening. Mike, thank you so much for coming here and being an amazing guest today.
Brandon, thank you.
For those of you watching, listening, wherever you are, again, all the links down below. Go check out mikecapuzzi.com at the special link /magic. Get those 3 books and make sure you subscribe. We want to have you back. We put out 5 episodes a week because we're crazy, but also because we want to help you build a more harmonious business and life. And a shook just might do that. So we'll see you tomorrow on Harmonious at Lunch.